Howdy, howdy. Welcome on in to the pre-show before the free show. It feels like it's been a long time, but it really hasn't. But I think that everything that ensued this since we've been off has made it feel like it's been 4 years.
It does feel like it's been a minute. Welcome in to your Thanksgiving post-game show.
Yes.
We're your hosts, Greg Tepper and Ashley Pickle. We thank you for trusting us as your number one source for Thanksgiving news, notes, and reviews.
Yes.
Let's talk about what happened on Thursday. Thursday was Thanksgiving. It came again. And once again, got to tell you, it was great. Once again, lived up to its billing as the best day of the year.
Yes.
It was the best day of the year, and there's no real debate about it.
Did not disappoint.
I did watch a fair amount of the parade.
Okay, yeah.
Because Hank was into the parade because of there was a lot of heaters for him.
Yeah.
Paw Patrol, Clifford.
I sent you a
Blue's Clues
picture of
was there.
the Paw Patrol balloon.
Blue's Clues. Oh no, he was into it.
NASA Snoopy. Did he get excited over NASA Snoopy?
I don't think he knows who Snoopy is.
God, terrible.
Well, sorry, there's a hole in his game. But anyway. All that's to say, we watched a lot of that. I think what I figured out about the parade is the last 2 hours when it's an actual parade, and it's like the bands and the floats and the balloons and stuff. It's like, okay, that's all right.
Yeah.
That first hour sucks, though.
All the Broadway stuff, and that's what's funny is I feel like a lot of people's mileage varies that way because I feel like a lot of people look forward to the Broadway stuff, and then they're like, okay, big balloons, whatever. But we are both. I will agree with you.
And here's the thing. I don't hate like Broadway stuff, but like in that context, I'm like, I don't want this. Like,
yeah.
I'm sitting there and give me the, or at least like break it up. But I understand the purpose of it is
right.
that they're waiting for the balloons to literally get there. Anyway.
The other thing real fast about the parade, I strive to be as happy as Al Roker on parade day.
Dude.
Like that's one of those when he's gone, it will not be the same.
A word on Al Roker. We take him for granted.
We absolutely do. He's a treasure.
That man, and I'm speaking strictly as a broadcaster. What he does, I feel like people who aren't in broadcasting, and we are ostensibly in broadcasting, kind of, but to do what he does is such a unique skill set.
Crazy.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's unbelievable.
He is a national. I look at him the same way I looked at Alex Trebek. Like, it will not be the same when they are gone.
Yes, except Alex Trebek was Canadian. Anyway.
The one downfall.
So watch that. Watch Lions and Bears.
Oof.
Actually a decent game.
Yeah.
Actually a decent game. And then Hank had his nap, and then we went over to my brother-in-law, my brother's house, and had Thanksgiving dinner over there, and it was of course spectacular. And so now, Pickle, you and I had a similar turkey experience because we both went to. We'll invoice you later, Cajun Turkey Company. We both went to the Cajun Turkey Company and got a fried turkey. I've had it before.
I had not.
I am interested in your review.
It was amazing. Like, not overhyping this at all. That was the best turkey that I had ever had. It was so good. And people know this from past Thanksgiving spectaculars. I have traditionally been more of a ham person.
Yes.
It's not that I don't like turkey.
It's one of the many things that I don't like about you.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair. That turkey may have single-handedly got me on the flip. It was so good. We got the spicy Cajun fried turkey. And here's what we kind of briefly talked about this earlier, but let me kind of go a deeper dive here. The spicy worked so well because in a Thanksgiving meal, nothing else that you have is spicy.
It's true.
I never thought about that.
Mashed potatoes, green bean casserole.
I mean, there is
sweet potatoes,
nothing that you make on Thanksgiving that's spicy. And so
that's a great point.
And I never thought about it until the turkey because we started having it and I was like, it's got some kick to it. I mean, with you celebrating with kids, probably not the move. But for us, it was all adults. So it was like, absolutely go down on it. And it was so good because everything else, once you got that spice, then everything else cooled your mouth off. And then it was back to the spice. And so you getting to get the spicy flavor. Whew, so good.
We did we also fried a turkey ourselves because we're We're Hoosiers.
Didn't blow anything up?
No, we didn't. And
Nice.
actually, shout out to my brother Matt. We have been frying turkeys for a while, and this was the best one yet. He nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. We also fried some Brussels sprouts, which were excellent. Because
I saw Hank had him on his plate. I was, first off, pumped about Hank's plate. Good.
Hank had an excellent plate.
Absolutely.
Look, I made his plate.
Yeah,
of course it was an excellent
that's true.
plate. Sorry.
Well, there's just a lot of...
I'm not, you guys know I don't toot my horn about everything, but as far as Thanksgiving plate construction, come on.
Well, I was just proud because a lot of kids his age wouldn't eat most of the stuff that was on that plate.
He ate almost all of it.
That's
he
awesome.
was into it. But it was spectacular. We had 3 different kinds of pies. My brother and his wife, or my sister-in-law, tried to make a Paul Hollywood from British Baking Show recipe, and it was very good. It was a little bit all we kept doing was criticizing it as if we would if it was on the British Baking Show. It was very good, like a strawberry mousse type thing. It was very good.
Oh, nice.
We also had an apple pie and we had a pumpkin pie, both of which were excellent, and all 3 of which were excellent. And it was just the best day of the year. The best ticket day of the year. I watched the whole... I did not nap.
You watched the whole Cowboy game?
I watched the whole Cowboy game.
Yep.
I watched the whole Cowboy game.
Yeah.
What an achievement. A genuine achievement.
Yeah, and this was my first time hosting, so everything went smoothly.
Yeah, it went okay?
Oh, man, I told Will earlier, I was like, I did a lot of thinking beforehand of, the best way to have everything hot and ready at the same time, and I'll pat myself on the back. It really did. It was awesome. I was pumped. So.
Okay, well, now you've had both experiences. Do you prefer hosting to not hosting?
I genuinely enjoyed it.
Wow.
I really did. Mainly because then...
So I can come over next year.
Yeah, come on. Because then I knew that stuff was going to be done on time. A lot of times when you get to other people's houses, it's like I haven't eaten all day and I start to get a little hangry. And it was like I said the food was going to be ready at 2. Yeah. I had everything laid out ready to go 1:54. Shout
out to my sister-in-law, Amanda, who she is much fancier than everyone else in the family. She has slummed it by getting with the Teppers. Right? She really has. But she has become a charcuterie board connoisseur. She's super, and she builds them herself. She goes awesome. And she buys the meats and the cheese and she builds them herself. And so that's what we had as the appetizer. And it's this is. So you got all these meats and cheese. I mean, she's talking about Teppers here. It's you got all these meats and cheeses. Gonna make a little sandwich or something like that. But it was like
a Lunchable.
Yeah, exactly. It's this looks like a big fancy Lunchable here. Anyway, it was of course the best day of the year.
Yes.
So good. We have put the big inflatable turkey gobbles away for the year.
Okay.
He will wait for his next debut. But what a day.
Yeah. I got my Christmas tree out that night. I went full steam ahead.
Hey.
We
listened. You know what? Here's a sign of growth.
Okay.
Here's a sign of growth from me. On the way back from my brother's house,
Christmas music.
We listened to Christmas music.
There you go. Yeah. It was after everything was cleaned in the kitchen. Then I was like, all right,
that's fine.
We can go now.
Tough but fair. It's now Christmas season.
Yes.
You are now allowed to celebrate Christmas. All right. Hit the theme expo. Pickle. Hit the arrow sign. Yes, y'all. From the Dave Campbell's Texas Football Mothership here in beautiful Lewisville, Texas, it is Texas Football Today, a show on the internet. My name's Greg Tepper. I'm the managing editor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine, texasfootball.com, a corresponding website. Thank you for spending part of your day with us. Whether you're watching us live on texasfootball.com, on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Twitch, or listen to us on the podcast, which you can subscribe to on the podcast vendor of your choice. Either way, thank you for doing your part to support your local mediocre internet show. I am sitting over there at the helm today, making us sound good. She is the Duchess of the Dorks. She is Ashley Pickle. Hello, Ashley Pickle.
Howdy, team.
Happy post-Thanksgiving Day show.
Thanks.
Nailed it.
Bud.
Nailed it. Today is Monday,
Fact.
November 29th,
Also
2021.
A fact.
360 days till Thanksgiving. Farthest will be, guys. All right? Look, it's a tough one, but we've got the glow of Thanksgiving to carry us.
Fix and say, remember the good times. Be happy that they happened.
Exactly right. Happy birthday to, let's go with Don Cheadle, episode 1290. On today's show, guys, large show. We've got Monday Morning Fallout. We'll overreact to the football weekend. Then we're going to talk around 12:30. We're going to be talking with the head coach of the China Spring Cougars, Coach Brian Bell. They had a big win on Friday that we will discuss with him. Then, back half of the show, we are going to talk a little bit about the coaching maneuvers that are happening in the state of Texas. There are reportedly 2 new FBS head coaches in the state of Texas. One of them has been announced by the school. The other one hasn't. At least at this moment, it's 12:05 to time check it. It may happen literally while we're on the air, but anyway, we'll talk about the new coaches at SMU and TCU coming up here at the back half of the program. Do we have first 4 through the door?
We sure do. It was Tony Blaylock, Coach Terry Crawford.
That's 14-0, 13-0. 13-0 Abbott Panthers state semifinals. Big game this week against number 1 May. To be the man, you got to beat the man.
Aaron Arbuckle and Robert Legow. Also want to give a quick shout out. Our longtime viewer, Josh Chappa, I was able to meet him at the Argyle game this week. So just giving him a shout out there. Welcome in, fellas and lady fellas.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
Wait a second. You like mingled with the masses?
I did. And apparently Step and Ish got to meet Landon Sam. So it was a big weekend for all of us meeting some TFT
It's not surprising for Ish and Step to go and meet. They're men of the people.
Oh, Lord have mercy. You hush yourself.
You are.
I am out amongst the people every single week,
are in your
sir.
ivory
I'll be at
tower.
3 games amongst the people this week.
Let's get to Pickle. No time to waste. Pickle! Hit the air raid siren. It's time for Monday Morning Fallout. Of course, when we overreact to the football weekend, a few things to talk about today.
Just a few, maybe 2.
Overreact to the football weekend. We're going to start with my 3 big thoughts. Thought number 1, on Black Friday, everything must go. So, I recorded, on Friday night, I recorded an instant reaction that you can find on our YouTube page and spread it around. And I'm always pretty, I always want to make sure that I'm being a bit thoughtful in my reactions to things like that, because I think, especially in sports media, people can be too quick to declare things the biggest or the greatest or the most unbelievable or the most this or the biggest that. But after spending the whole weekend thinking about it, I think I'm ready to declare that Friday was among the wildest days in recent Texas high school football history. What we saw on Friday, and not just Friday night, Friday day, is relatively unprecedented. I have been trying to find a time that we had a situation like this, and I have not been able to find one. Because the bottom line, the headline of Friday is that 6 defending state champions went down.
It was
6.
Wild.
In the course of about 7 hours, it happened. We had 6. Half of the UIL state champions. Think about that. In the span of 7 hours, 6 went down. We'd already lost 1. Balmorhea had lost the week before, so we were going to have a new 1A Division 2 state champion. Then you have 1A Division 1. Sterling City gets beat by Westbrook. I don't think that's a huge upset. Westbrook had already actually beaten Sterling City.
Right.
And so, it was a tight game, 44-41. Great 6-man game. But I don't know if that's necessary. I wouldn't classify that as an upset. I thought that was a coin flip type game.
Right.
Westbrook won the game. Knocked them out. We'll have 2 new 6-man state champions. 1A is the only classification that will have 2 new state champions each of the last 3 years. Nobody's gone back-to-back.
Right.
Every other classification, we've had at least one team go back-to-back in the last 3 years. Not happening there. 2A was unscathed. Mart rolled past Wortham. Shiner rolled past Schulenburg.
Yes.
Then there's 3A. In 3A Division 2, Abernathy beats Canadian.
Yep.
Now, we had kind of had a feeling that perhaps Abernathy was going to beat Canadian, or that someone was going to beat Canadian. Canadian was
They
wounded.
had a rough, yeah.
Canadian was really banged up. It's not to make excuses. Abernathy went out there and took the game. But it also felt like they had, at best, a generous reading of the situation at Canadian was that they had fallen back to the pack. Abernathy's certainly good enough to beat them, and they did. And they knocked them out. That's the first time since 2013 they will not be in a state semifinal. 3A Division 1. Brock beats Jim Ned 70-25.
I was going to say, they didn't just beat them. I mean,
They beat the brakes off them.
Unbelievable.
They took them to the woodshed, and they took some aggression out.
I was going to say, I was asking, our photographer, Tommy Hayes, was at the Argyle game that I was at later that night, and I asked him, I was like, was Xavier Wishart hurt? Like, what went right? And he said, they just took it to him. He goes, there was nothing about that other than just taking it to him.
It was a dominant performance. Cutter Wilson had a huge game. Everything was working for Brock. And they get their revenge on Jim Ned, because you remember last year, that was the game that really springboarded Jim Ned, I think, to the state championship.
Absolutely.
And after that, it was a remarkable win for Brock. Not necessarily that they beat him, because I think that it was, again, I think it was about a coin flippy type game. I think if you want to take Jim Ned, you were certainly within your rights. But
to drop a 70 burger.
But to beat them by 45 and to hang 70 on them is shocking. So we'll have a new 3A Division 1 champion. We'll have a new 3A Division 2 champion. We'll also have a new 4A Division 2 champion. As China Spring beats Carthage 27-17. Now, I want to give myself a little bit of credit.
Yeah.
I've been sitting here for a whole week and telling y'all China Spring's good enough to beat Carthage. Now, I ain't going to pick it.
No.
Because I ain't crazy. You're going to pick a team you don't pick against a streak.
No.
Carthage had won 41 straight games, the longest winning streak in the state. They had won 81 of their last 82 games. And you want me to go out on a limb and say China Spring's going to beat Carthage? No, of course not. I was at this game. I got to hang out with our buddy Gavin Moritz. I got to hang out with Coach Grant Freeman, the head coach of Wichita Falls, who was on the call for Texan Life. Did a fantastic job.
Josh was running camera.
Josh was running camera, our intern. There were Schnorbs, Paige Schnorbach, our friend who was there covering the game for Bally. And let me be very frank about this. China Spring was the better team. That's not a matter of them catching a couple breaks. That's not a matter of them kind of out, finding a couple ways to kind of squirrel away from them. No. China Spring went out and took it. And China Spring went out and straight up beat Carthage, which that has not happened in a long time. It really hasn't happened in a long time. Yes, they lost that 2018 semifinal to Liberty Hill. I don't know. Like the way that game went, this was the most dominant performance against Carthage that we have seen in at least 5 years.
Yeah.
It was incredible to watch. And so we'll have a new 4A Division 2 state champion. We'll have a new 4A Division 1 state champion, the game you were at. Stephenville beats Argyle 21-17. Again, I don't know if I would necessarily the rankings would tell you it's not an upset. This is number 2 Stephenville over number 7 Argyle?
Yeah.
Something like that. They'll tell you it's not an upset. But saying that you are good enough to beat a team, much like the Carthage, much like Carthage and much like the game we'll get to, saying that you're good enough to beat a team and actually doing it
are two totally different things.
Are entirely different.
Especially when, in the rankings this year, obviously Argyle had fallen and to Melissa earlier this year, and so we're thinking, okay, they might be a little bit down. But that is a team that traditionally, it doesn't necessarily matter what happens in the regular season. They are a team that consistently gets hot in the playoffs when they need to. And so it's like for Stephenville to know, and I think that's the other thing too. Stephenville, I think you could talk to Coach earlier the week and he would say, if we're going to do it, this could be the year. Like we know that, but to then keep yourself calm enough when you actually get to the big stage to do it, I think that was the most impressive thing about it.
The defense was excellent.
Yes.
Kept them in the game while the offense figured things out. They get the late touchdown and then a stop on 4th down, they win. And so Argyle's out. We'll have 2 new 4A divisions, 4A state champions. And then there was the one that I would say is the big one.
Yes. 110%.
5A Division 2, South Oak Cliff 33, Alito 28.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to hear a lot about the way this game went. You're going to hear a lot about the things that South Oak Cliff did well. Let me be blunt about this. I think Alito walks off the bus and is already up 14-0 on a lot of teams because of who they are. They're the 10-type state champs. They've got Alito across their chest. They have made it to the state semifinals every year since 2012. They are a dominant force. And we can talk as much as we want. Oh, I need to learn this South Oak Cliff quarterback's name because he's excellent.
He was fantastic.
Kevin Henry Jennings. He was excellent. We can talk about the defense, talk about the offensive line, talk about Coach Jason Todd. All the things, the schematics, those things. The number one thing that South Oak Cliff did is that they played unafraid. They played with a chip on their shoulder, and they played like they were going out against anybody, which is not something that a lot of teams do against Alito.
And it's one thing, especially, they went out there and punched him in the mouth in the first half, and they were up. And then Alito started doing that thing where you could tell Coach Buck got him in the locker room. They kind of figured their stuff out. And then it looked like at the very end they were going to have the chance to do a 2-minute drill to go down there and win it. And Sock never gave up, and that's what won them the game.
There's with teams like Alito, with teams like Carthage, with teams like Argyle to a certain extent, with a team like South Lake Carroll, maybe Allen, maybe Katy, Westlake. Even when you're winning, there's always a wave, and it's coming. And how do you sustain that wave?
Yep.
And South Oak Cliff did that. It is a remarkable win for South Oak Cliff. It's a remarkable win for Dallas ISD. It's a remarkable win for inner city football, which has been the punching bag for a lot of these suburban programs for a long time. This is a moment of celebration for them. And South Oak Cliff did it, and it is truly remarkable. And so that was on a Friday full of surprises and a Friday full of absolute gobsmackers. That was the one that really captured it all.
I need Sock to keep going so you can go watch that offensive line play in person because, oh boy.
That's
they're like, the average weight is like 315 pounds. It is so fun to watch.
Big boys. Thought number one. Thought number two, expectation hangover. Let's talk a little bit about college football. Let me ask you a question, Pickle. Did North Texas have a good season?
No. Well, I mean, they're going bowling.
Let me ask you a question, Pickle. Did Rice have a good season? They win their season finale against Louisiana Tech. They finished 4-8. Did UTEP have a good season? Because here's the thing, they went 6-6, 7-5. They went 7-5, but they started off 6-1, lost 5 of their last 6, right? Did A&M have a good season?
No.
They lose to LSU in the season finale. They finish 8-4. Did SMU have a good season? They were ranked at one point. We'll talk about their coaching change coming up in a moment. I don't know. Did Tech? That's what's so funny about this is when you look at these college football programs measured against their expectations, I think there's basically only 3 teams. Boy, well, at 2 teams.
It's so hard to answer.
2 teams that I would say unequivocally had a great season.
UTSA and Houston.
Oh, see, I would go Baylor and Houston.
Yeah.
Now, UTSA, I don't think they're turning their nose up at 11-1 in a conference championship berth. I don't think they're turning their nose up at that. So maybe it's 3, right? But everyone else is in some sort of soft middle.
Yeah.
Right? Now, there are some, I think it's pretty clear, in my opinion, but for example, Texas State, they finished with a win.
Yep.
They beat Arkansas State. They finished 4-8.
Yeah.
But Texas, I think they're pretty clear. It's we didn't have a great year.
No,
right?
Texas was bad.
Everyone, TCU, I think, same way. Everyone else is kind of in that squishy middle.
Right.
And it is a strange thing to go back and consider where we thought these programs would be versus where they finished. even as far as midseason is concerned, I think North Texas is a perfect example.
Yep.
They're 1-6, and we're thinking it's probably better start looking for an apartment.
Yeah, and then they
Seth
win
Luttrell.
their last 5 and beat a ranked opponent at home.
They rattle off their last 5, and they knock off the team that's probably going to win Conference USA.
Yep.
It's a strange season in college football, and we'll
Yeah.
have a lot of time to break it down. And thought number 3, second verse, same as the first. We had 18 rematches in the third round of the Texas high school football playoffs. 18 rematches. And of the 18 rematches, a grand total of 3 won their game. 3 reversed their regular season result. And those were Corpus Christi Flower Bluff beat Gregory Portland in an unbelievable game, by the way.
Yeah.
Tyler Chapel Hill beat Kilgore to avenge a regular season loss in another unbelievable game, double overtime. And Happy beat Turkey Valley to avenge a regular season loss. Now that was the one game that was decided. It was super close in the first time they met. Valley won 70-68. Happy won this one 38-36. So you can look at it 2 ways. One, you can say it's hard to beat a good team twice, and that's true. But at the same time, 15 teams did it.
Right.
And why does that matter? Why am I bringing that up? Because this week we've got 15 more rematches in the regional final.
The regional final is when it typically peaks at that.
And so now, like, what do you do with a game like North Shore and Atascocita?
Yep.
North Shore beat Atascocita the first time, 31-21. Duncanville DeSoto beat them by 21 the first time. Wichita Falls, Ryder, and Cooper are going to play for the 8th time in 4 years. That's a real stat. 8th time in 37 months. 8 times.
That's wild.
What do you do with Colleyville Heritage and Mansfield Summit, which was a 1-point game in Week 8? What do you do with a game like Brock and Whitesboro? What do you do with a game like Lubbock, Roosevelt, and Abernathy?
Yep.
I think you have to give the edge to the team that won the first meeting, but it's by no means a sure thing. And I think we're much more likely to have more results flipped this time than we did this round than we did last week.
Yeah, I would almost say I think I always think the opposite way. Just seeing the Munster Windthorst thing is perfect of an example. Obviously they're not playing now, but in just years past that, Waco, La Vega, and Argyle, it's like whoever wins one, you ain't winning the second one. That's always how my train of thought process works.
Ryder and Cooper tend to split.
Yep.
Right? So we'll see. It's 3 big thoughts. 3 helmet stickers. A helmet sticker to Lubbock Cooper running back Judge Thomason. First of all, outstanding name.
Fantastic.
Hats off to you. He ran for 206 yards and 3 touchdowns in Lubbock Cooper's victory this past week over Grapevine. How about Houston wide receiver Jake Herslow, a guy we haven't heard a ton about, but he was the leading receiver in their win over East Carolina. I believe he had 5 catches for 113 yards to get the victory. Or not East Carolina. Who they beat this past week? Houston beat. You listen to live coverage. Tulsa. Thank you. No, UConn.
Oh yeah.
That's right. They beat. Yeah, that's why I didn't.
Tulsa.
That's
was
why
the
you
week
couldn't
before,
remember.
Yeah.
5 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. As they pulled away and never really let UConn sniff competitive. It was a little close, like 21-10 at halftime, but then they pulled away in the third quarter. And a helmet sticker to Crosby quarterback Syrian Miles. 268 yards passing. He had another 15 carries for 122 yards and 3 touchdowns on the ground. Crosby's wild win this past week. Teams to watch. Tomball.
Yeah, we got called out on this one.
So Tomball, you'll remember, finished 4th in their own district. You remember, go back to my Week 11 picks video. I spotlighted the Tomball-Klein game because, guys, this is straight up for a playoff spot. Winners in, losers out. Well, now Tomball's gotten white hot. Cale Kellums has gotten white hot. They take down Rockwall Heath. And now,
in an impressive fashion,
going up against Bridgeland. And I don't know what the status of Connor Wigman is. He went out in that game.
Yeah.
Just saying.
I was going to say, I saw Bridgeland not too long ago. If Wigman is not up to full health, there is plenty of room for Tomball to make some noise.
Incarnate Word wins their first ever playoff game, 35-28 in overtime They came up clutch in their overtime win. Fantastic matchup there. They are through to take on another Texas opponent in Sam Houston. So they get a shot at the national champs. And Whitesboro. Whitesboro has been playing football since 11? They have been playing football since 1915. And they are through to the fourth round of the playoffs for the first time ever.
How about that?
I remember when Whitesboro had like a super long losing streak.
Mm-hmm.
It was like they had a huge playoff drought. And now they're in the stinking regional finals.
That's
Congratulations
awesome.
to the Bearcats. 3-C.
It's the week.
Shiner Furio week, guys. We were talking about this. I think that this is minimum one of the 5 most anticipated games of the year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Minimum. Across state, any level.
Mm-hmm. I think it's everybody's chance to get their look at small school ball. This is the big school snobs, I feel like, do
Thursday
still
night,
tune in.
It's Thursday night. It'll be on Texan Live.
Mm-hmm.
Shiner Furio in Victoria. Baylor and Oklahoma State. Baylor sneaks into the Big 12 championship game because Oklahoma State wins Bedlam for the first time in forever.
In a wild game.
That was a wild game. But Baylor tried to spit the bit against Tech.
They absolutely did.
But they get the win there through to the Big 12 championship game where they'll get a rematch with Oklahoma State. Remember, Oklahoma State handed them their loss earlier this year, so we will find out how all that shakes out. But that game is 11 a.m. on Saturday. And Stephenville, Melissa, it's your Region 2 final in 4A Division 1. Stephenville coming off that big win over Argyle. Can they ride that to a win over the team that also beat Argyle in Melissa, who looked pretty darn good in their win as well? So those are 3-C. That is a beefy Monday morning fallout. We're at Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in the Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at DCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Pickle, Dave Campbell's Texas Football in partnership with Ozarka is proud to honor one team in each classification with the Ozarka Fueled by Nature Team of the Week Award. The teams selected throughout the course of this program have exemplified the best in Texas high school football. Your Week 14 season finale edition of the Ozarka Fueled by Nature Team of the Week. In 6A, Humble Summer Creek, Lloyd Avant and Torrey Curry combined for 334 yards and 7 touchdowns on the ground as the Bulldogs surged into the 6A Division II regional finals with a wild 61-42 win over Katy Cinco Ranch. In 5A, South Oak Cliff, in one of the stunners of the Texas high school football season, the Golden Bears took down 2-time defending champion Aledo 33-28, handing the Bearcats their first loss before the state semifinals since 2012. In 4A, Tyler Chapel Hill, Samari Willis scored in the second overtime, and Javen Mayfield hauled in a game-winning interception in the end zone as the Bulldogs avenged a regular season loss to Kilgore with a 41-35 victory over their district rival. In 3A, Brock, a year after being stunned by Jim Ned, the Eagles exacted a bit of revenge, romping the defending state champs 70-25 to move on to the 3A Division I regional finals. In 2A, Albany, in a showcase matchup of unbeatens, Jaheim Newton ran for 162 yards and Cole Chapman accounted for 3 total touchdowns as the Lions took down Munster 34-21. In 1A, Abbott, the Panthers are headed back to the state semifinals after taking down district rival Coolidge for the second time this season, 74-27. And in the private school ranks, Houston Emery Weiner. The Jaguars got a huge game from their defense and 5 combined passing touchdowns from Leo Gerst and Doran Eustein to knock off defending state champion Texas School for the Deaf in a 48-0 win in the TAPS 6-man Division II state semifinals. So those are your Ozarka Fueled by Nature Teams of the Week. Congratulations to all the schools. We salute you. For more information, visit TexasFootball.com. And now, a word from our friends at From Now On. From Now On is a proud sponsor of Dave Campbell's Texas Football and your school's one-stop shop for community connection. Simplify your athletic communications with From Now On. Their FanX platform gives schools at all levels of the game a one-stop shop mobile experience that makes driving communication, creating engagement, and generating revenue easy. From Now On helps connect your school community with everything they need to win on game day. Schedules, streams, digital tickets, real-time notifications, and more. Learn more by visiting their website at from-now-on.com or follow them on Twitter or Instagram at FromNowOnEXP. Pickle, let's go to the hotline. And let's bring in the head coach of the regional finalist China Spring Cougars. We are joined on the phone line by Coach Brian Bell. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Appreciate you having me.
You can't avoid me. I saw you. I saw you Friday evening as you were walking off the field after knocking off Carthage. I asked you. I mentioned to you that I thought that the bus ride home was going to be pretty fun. So let's get a post-game report. How was the bus ride home?
It was a blast. We had canes. Had some chicken fingers with some sauce. Had some waters to drink. Man, we had a blast. So kids were definitely in good spirits. And Saturday morning film was a blast too. The guys loved to kind of get in there and we made some mistakes. So there's some things to clean up too. But really proud of the effort they played with and ready to go this week.
You guys were able to knock off Carthage, the two-time defending 4A Division II state champs, snapping their 41-game losing streak. And I'm always interested. We mentioned on the show a little bit earlier about how a lot of these dynasties, Carthage, Aledo, Allen, teams like that, a lot of them walk off the bus and they're up 14-0 on their opponent. How did you guys approach this week going up against this program that is so decorated and so dominant in order to keep you guys in the right mind frame to go out there and get the win?
Well, I think number one, obviously Carthage is a phenomenal program. Coach Surratt does a great job, but we really just try to make it about us. You know, it's really, they're great, whatever, but we're really confident in the brand of football we're playing right now, and we really just try to control what we can control, and that's our performance, that's our preparation. And try not really think about Carthage too much. And I really think it helped us kind of playing them last year. And our kids had seen them before, and they knew what they were going to be like, and they knew how everything was going to go pregame wise. And just I think that made it a little bit easier on us. But we really just try to make it about us as much as possible. And I think our kids did a really good job of being mature and having a disciplined mindset.
I want to ask you about that first quarter because you guys came out and you threw the first punch. You get a stop on their opening drive, and then you march down and you score on fourth down. Fourth down, you guys go for it on 4th and 1 and were able to punch it in for Dawson Exline, getting the touchdown run. How, from your perspective, and I know every coach says they want to start fast, but especially in a game like that, how important was it for you guys to make sure you went out there and landed that first punch?
No, absolutely. I think our defense has done a great job all season long, especially just early in the ball game, creating some momentum for us and getting us the ball back. And offense, we kind of put some plays together, got down there inside the goal line or inside the red zone, I guess, and kind of made it inside the 5-yard line. And sure enough, before you knew it, we kind of scored and things were kind of off. And so I think just by starting the game fast and creating that momentum really kind of allowed us to get established in our game plan a little bit. And we just never looked back. I was proud of our kids.
We're talking with Brian Bell, the head coach of the China Spring Cougars here on Texas Football Today. Get involved in the conversation at #TF Today. Coach, one of the major kind of sparks for your program and sparks for this team is your quarterback, Major Bowden, who was such a warrior running the ball, made some big throws down the stretch. I came away really impressed with him. You're the guy who's seen him every day. What is it about your quarterback that sets him apart, that makes him special?
He's a difference maker. He's truly the X factor. He is so explosive, so dynamic with the ball in his hands, and what he's done in the last 365 days, working, throwing the ball, and working on his weaknesses from last season, and a bunch of different things. He's really grown a lot as a quarterback, and that's really taken our offense to the next level. Last year, kind of in our playoff run, we're pretty one-dimensional, and I think we throw on the ball 4 or 5 times a game, and he's good enough throwing the ball right now where he can hurt anybody. And so that's really big on him. And like you said, just with the ball in his hands, he's so dynamic, but he's an incredible his work ethic's unbelievable. I mean, behind the scenes, he's doing everything he needs to do, and he's committed to Lamar right now, and he's going to make them extremely, extremely happy just because of how physical of a runner he is. And he's a little undersized. He's a little shorter, but he just makes that up with his quickness and his physicality. I mean, he doesn't miss a beat, and so he's really, really, really fun to coach.
You mentioned, a little bit earlier about your defense, which has been so special this year. It's really stepped up in a big way, and watching you guys on Friday, it really struck me how well you guys flow to the football, how well you guys tackle in space. Carthage really was never able to get into gear. From your perspective, last year, this was a defense that was good, but it sure seems like it's taken that next step. What do you think has been the difference between this year's defense and maybe the past year's defenses?
I think we just have a couple different things that we're doing just to try to create some pressure on the quarterback and put some pressure on him. just pass rush things that I think give us an advantage. And just really proud of our defensive staff for giving the kids and putting them or giving them a good game plan, number one, and just putting them in positions to be successful. It kind of all starts with Braden Faulkner, our Mike linebacker. I mean, heck of a talent. Started at quarterback as freshman and sophomore, and now as a junior and senior, he's playing on the defense side of the ball, and he's a true leader and quarterback of that side of the ball. And he runs. I mean, he's extremely physical and runs the football well, like you said. And I think everybody else just kind of falls in order. And Dawson Exline, he's extremely physical. Greg Salazar on the defensive line, and then you got Trey Hafford, Isaiah Williams, Jacob Mott on the back end, and our outside linebackers Mason Kirk and Tristan Exline. I mean, phenomenal football players. So, I mean, we've got a lot of guys that take a lot of pride in the details, and our defensive staff does a good job of creating that mentality of running to the football, and it's a pride thing, and they take a lot of pride in it.
When did it strike you that you guys were actually going to do it? That you guys were actually going to win the ball game? Because I know those final moments can be really tense, especially when you're trying to knock off a defending state champion. When was the moment that you were like, oh my gosh, I think we're going to win this game?
I think when the buzzer went off. I think maybe when we made the field goal, I thought, man, we might have done this, but you just never know, especially with Carthage and how well coached they are. You just they find their way. They find ways to win games, yes, especially late like that, and they kind of were starting to come back a little bit, and our defense did a really good job of stopping them at the end. But I think it was 14-7 at half, and we knew we weren't going to be able to win the game with just 14 points offensively. So we knew we were going to have to be aggressive coming out and really put some points on the board again. Our kicker made 2 big field goals for us in the second half. That was clutch, Thomas Barr. And so it was a team effort, team win. But yeah, it wasn't until the game actually ended. I knew we had it in the bag, because you just never know what could happen. It was a pretty cool moment.
Yeah, you absolutely don't. And it was I'll tell you, from my perspective, it was kind of that same thing of like, as soon as you guys kicked that field goal, that's the first time I thought, I was like, man, it might actually happen. They're gonna do the stinking thing. It's on to the next one, Coach, and it's not like it gets any easier. You guys, it's gonna go down. It's gonna go down Friday night, 7:00 at Tomball ISD Stadium. You will draw the Mustangs of West Orange Shark. I know you're deep into film study. I'm not gonna ask you to tell everybody what you're gonna do on Friday, but when you take a look at what you're up against on Friday, what do you see?
Goodness gracious, Coach Thompson does a phenomenal job year in and year out. And that's obvious, just kind of what kind of football they play, especially in the playoffs. And, they're just so well coached, put themselves in position to be successful. They don't miss a line on defense. They're always in a good position. And then offensively, they're just so explosive, especially running the ball. Throwing the ball, they've gotten better as the season's gone on, especially to this point. But they're just so dynamic with some athletes that they have on the offensive side. And they give a bunch of people different people the ball. And so it's going to be tough to stop. It's going to be a tall task for our defense. But I mean, they're going to be confident and be running the football and doing the best that they can. And we're deep into film study right now. But from what I've seen, when you kind of study film, you try to find some weaknesses, and you try to find a couple players that might be lesser than or whatever. And when you put on the film of Carthage last week, and then you turn around and you watch this film, you can't find many weaknesses. So we're just going to try to go out and do what we do, and it's all really about us, and we're going to give them our best shot.
One last question for Brian Bell, the head coach of China Spring. Coach, you've to say you have deep ties at China Spring is the understatement of the year. You of course are the son of former coach Mark Bell. You were a ball boy for the Cougars. You played for the Cougars before going off for a terrific career at Sam Houston. Is it fair to say? I guess my question is does it make it extra special to be doing this at China Spring as opposed to anywhere else? Does that add a little extra, does that make it more satisfying?
Absolutely. This place means everything to me. This community is extremely special. I've been here probably 20-something years of my life. I've kind of lived in China Spring city limits, and it's just, this place is incredibly special, and we're growing right now. And it's just an incredible place to be. Our community is phenomenal. Our administration is phenomenal. And just kind of growing up and being a ball boy and being able to be a part of this program for a long time, to be, I guess being the head coach, being blessed to be able to be the head coach and for us to be being successful and kids playing hard. I couldn't ask. I'm in a dream spot right now, and I'm just so thankful for this opportunity and that Dr. Faulkner really took a chance on me whenever my dad retired to give me this opportunity. And it's just been a lot of fun, and we're excited. So hopefully we can keep this thing going. Everybody's already telling us we're in the state championship, Greg. So we got to make sure we go 1-0 this week. The whole town telling the kids that, telling us that, and they're excited. And it's a good time to be there. But we got long ways to go, and West Orange Stark's not no easy task. So we're gonna have to give them our best shot.
He's Brian Bell. He's the head coach of the regional finalist China Spring Cougars. Coach, appreciate your time. Congratulations again on the big win, and best of luck Friday night.
Hey, I appreciate that, and I told you Friday, but honestly, all you guys do for Texas high school football is unbelievable, and we really appreciate it because this sport wouldn't be the same without you guys, and y'all do so much for kids. It's unbelievable. So thank you guys again.
Absolutely. Appreciate you, Coach. There you guys. Brian Bell, head coach of the China Spring Cougars, join us here on Texas Football today. So he's 30.
I was just going to say, that makes you feel quite old, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's got I got many more grades.
We had some cool people in the comments too that were Lorena fans, and they were saying, "Hey, we're cheering you on. Bring some rings back to the 254."
Yeah.
So I think that's always cool. When
Big
that
Central
happens.
Texas energy.
Yeah.
It's and that's what's super cool. I mean, they had a really nice crowd out there in Prosper.
Oh yeah.
And they were not there to sit on their hands. It was really fun to watch, and it was a big celebration. That was I mentioned I asked Coach about starting fast, and they went for it. They got down to like the 3. They had like first and goal at the 3. Mm-hmm. They ran, and they got down to the 1. And so it's 4. It's like inside the 1. It's like 4th and goal at the 1. And they're lining up to go for it, which I think, by the way, is the right move.
Absolutely.
Don't bring a knife to a gunfight.
No.
And he lined up, and I'm sitting there in the press box, scoreless still, right, first quarter, and I'm going like, man, this is a real turning point because if they don't score here, like that sideline might deflate.
Yep.
And sure enough, Dawson X-Line punches in and off the left side, and from there was this energy on the sideline that you were just like, okay, they're in it. Like they've landed the punch, and it was very, very impressive to see. So appreciate Coach Brian Bell hopping on this.
Cool.
He can't avoid me. I saw him Friday, and then I texted him last night. I texted him as such. I was like, man, you can't get away from me,
brother. You're preaching to the choir.
We're Texas Football Today. We're here every weekday at noon on TexasFootball.com, talking football in Lone Star State. You can follow us on Twitter at TCTF, like us on Facebook, Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram, Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's, and of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. TexasFootball.com is where you can find complete coverage of high school football, college football, and recruiting all across the Lone Star State. Pickle. Dave Campbell's Texas Football, in conjunction with the Texas Bowl, is proud to present the Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week Award to the most deserving high schooler in the state of Texas. Each Monday, TexasFootball.com announces 10 candidates for that week's award based on the previous week's on-field performance. We then leave it up to you, voting at TexasFootball.com, and then we will close the voting at noon, with the winner being announced here on Texas Football Today shortly thereafter. Your Week 14. Thank you. Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week Award nominees. Denton Geyer quarterback Jackson Arnold threw for 304 yards and 2 touchdowns passing, 62 yards and another 2 touchdowns on the ground in Geyer's win over
Byron Nelson.
Thank you. They got a push.
Yeah, I was just going to say, that first half looked oof.
San Antonio Brennan quarterback Ashton DeBose, 318 yards, 6 touchdowns passing, 85 yards and a touchdown rushing. Been doing that all year. Mm-hmm. Corpus Christi Flower Bluff quarterback Nash Villegas threw for 322 yards and 2 touchdowns through the air, 44 yards and a touchdown rushing. They set up their big rivalry game rematch with Corpus Christi Vets. Mm-hmm. Crosby wide receiver and defense back Cameron Kirkwood had 5 catches for 104 yards and a touchdown receiving. He had 17 yards rushing. He had 8 tackles and 2 interceptions of defense. Same thing. Academy quarterback Casey Mraz, 39 of 44, 368 yards, 4 touchdowns passing, and a rush touchdown in a hard luck loss to Diebold.
Yeah, R.I.P. Swobies.
Brock running back Cutter Wilson, 295 yards and 5 touchdowns rushing against Jim Ned. He ran angry. Aubrey running back Braylon Colgrove, 157 yards and 4 touchdowns on the ground as the Chaparrals are through to the regional finals.
They beat the tar out of them.
Gilmer quarterback Brandon Tennyson, 18 of 28, 311 yards, 6 touchdowns passing in a wild shootout win over Van. Tomball quarterback Cale Helms, 38 carries, 312 yards, and 3 touchdowns on the ground for Cale Helms. And finally, Marlin quarterback Desmond Woodson, 471 yards and 6 touchdowns passing, 65 yards rushing. Don't sleep on Marlin.
No.
And their quarterback, Desmond Woodson.
They're a Jordan school, too. Did you see their jerseys? The white with the purple with the J on it. Oh, God, it's good.
Okay.
Shout out Marlon.
There they are. The Week 14 Mr. Texas Football Player of the Week nominees. Vote early, vote often, vote now at TexasFootball.com. Okie dokie, Pickle. One less thing to do today, and that's talk a little bit of coaching carousel. There's only one R in carousel.
Are you sure?
Promise you.
It's a carousel.
So we've got two things to talk about, both in the DFW Metroplex, and both of which are a bit noteworthy. So I haven't been on Twitter in 15 minutes, so I don't know if it's official yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it is overwhelmingly reported. It is now like a done deal in everything except announcement, unless it's been announced, that TCU has their new head coach. Of course, you remember TCU parted ways with Gary Patterson during the middle of the season. Jerry Kill, who, by the way, is going to go be the new head coach of New Mexico State.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry Kill served as the interim. They have now landed on their head coach, and it's a guy who knows his way around Fort Worth because he plays there every year. And that would be Sonny Dykes, the head coach of the SMU Mustangs. TCU poaches the coach of their rival, which is certainly noteworthy.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, it adds a little spice to the skillet, so to speak. It is noteworthy, and it's important to remember that what Sonny Dykes has done at SMU is pretty remarkable. Okay, he took over a program there at SMU, which I don't think was in dire straits, but he was a bit of damaged goods coming out of Cal.
They definitely weren't seen as a title contender in their respective.
So he was a bit of
conference.
damaged goods coming out of Cal. It didn't go well for him. Now, I also think, personally, I think Cal's a bad job.
It is.
And I don't think Sonny Dykes suddenly became a terrible coach when he was from the time he went from Louisiana Tech to Cal. But that's neither here nor there. He has like a retrenching year as an offensive analyst at TCU before he gets the head coaching job at SMU. And he's done a pretty remarkable job there at SMU. He's 30-18 there at SMU, including that 10-win year back in 2019. And yeah, he has done an excellent job there at SMU. And what I think is really impressive about what he's done is that he has really built them into having an identity, which is we are the team of Dallas. We are going to circle. We're going to draw a circle around the DFW Metroplex, and we're going to grab the best guys, and we're going to bring them in. That's why you see all these billboards around Dallas. Whenever they've got a kid who's from that town, it says like,
and he did a really good job of hiring people that were able to make that possible.
We'll get to him in a moment. And I think that TCU looked across town, and they go, "Huh, that is pretty interesting." Now, and I want to preface this by saying that I do think that he's a really good football mind. I think he knows what he's doing around a playbook. What I'm about to say is not about that. I think he's a pretty good football mind. I think he knows what he's talking about. But I think TCU, much like Tech, looked around and, much like, for example, USC, looked around and they said, the name of the game, especially in the new Big 12, without Texas and Oklahoma, and with Houston, BYU, UCF, and I always forget the other one. Cincinnati, thank you. With the new Big 12, the name of the game is talent acquisition.
Yep.
We will figure out the schemes later. But the name of the game is talent acquisition. And there is no doubting that Sonny Dykes and his staff know how to acquire talent, especially in the major metro area, in the DFW metro area. They've done an excellent job of that at SMU. I think, plain and simple, and SMU fans are not going to like this, but it's the God's honest truth of the matter, that the conference that SMU is in, the American Athletic Conference, what they are going to look like after realignment and what the Big 12 are going to look like in realignment, that gap widened.
Yes, it did.
The Big 12 is now a better conference than the American Athletic Conference by a larger margin.
Mm-hmm. And for a second there, it was looking like it was trending that the Big 12 was falling a lot
That's
deeper.
exactly right. Instead, I think that the way that it's shaping out and the way that with the AAC, the AAC is going to lose both of the teams that are in their conference title game and the team that won a mythical national championship to the Big 12.
Yep.
And basically the AAC is going to pick up some Conference USA teams. So that gap has widened. And I think that in that new look Big 12, they looked and said, we're going to need a guy who can go and acquire the kind of talent we need around the DFW Metroplex to do it. And I think that that's what they got in Sonny Dykes. They also reportedly, and again, all this is reported because TCU hasn't announced. All this is reportedly, they're also adding Rashad Samples. Rashad Samples was the assistant head coach at SMU, and he is also an excellent football mind. That is not to say that he's not a great football mind, but he is recruiting ace.
That's where you get your bang for your buck.
He is the star of the show on the recruiting side. He is the guy that he's the straw that stirs the drink from a recruiting side. And so they're importing that across. They're importing that across the Metroplex.
It's getting really hyped over here.
They're importing that across the Metroplex from SMU to TCU. Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's going to make the battle for the Iron Skillet pretty fun.
It will.
Really fun. Also of note, it sounds like, speaking of USC, it sounds like Brian Carrington, who was the director of player personnel,
yes,
or basically the head recruiting guy out there,
whichever title they give him,
formerly at the University of Texas, went out to USC. Sounds like he's coming to join TCU staff as well. They're trying to build a recruiting Death Star.
Yes,
that's what they're trying to do. They're looking, I think both TCU and Tech looked at the new landscape and they go, we have got to double down on talent acquisition, and they did. Mm-hmm. I think he's a pretty darn good football coach. We're going to see how it works out at TCU. Filling the shoes of a legend is not easy, but they've got a guy that they believe can keep that program up near the upper echelon of the new Big 12. So that leaves and by the way, I'm trying to think. I guess the last time we had an in-state coaching move at the FBS level was Tom Herman.
Yep.
Tom Herman moving from Houston over to Texas, and then prior to that, it was Sumlin moving from Houston over to A&M. Okay. So that leaves us with SMU as open, and SMU. This is the funniest part of this.
And what I think is SMU actually open?
This is what I think is the funniest part of this. SMU has announced their new head coach. TCU has not acknowledged that they have taken Sonny Dykes, but it is, again, fait accompli. It's going to happen. They have announced their new head coach, and their new head coach is Rhett Lashley. Rhett Lashley. That's R-H-E-T-T. Rhett Lashley. And Rhett Lashley is coming to Houston, or coming to SMU from Miami, where he was the offensive coordinator for the past couple of years under Manny Diaz. Now, I do not know, to be very clear about this, I do not know what Manny Diaz's history, or if Manny Diaz is long for that world at Miami. They're going through an athletic director change. There's a whole lot of things going on there. But I don't think that has anything to do with this, because Rhett Lashley, who I believe becomes, let me think this through. He's 38. I think he becomes the youngest head coach. I need to check how old Jake Spavital is. That would be the one guy.
Yeah, I can tell you.
He may be the youngest head coach in the state. In any case, and I guess supposedly, I don't know. Maybe
Spav is 36.
36, okay. So he's the second youngest. Rhett Lashley comes to SMU to take over for his first ever head coaching job. Never been a head coach. Now he has been on the fast track for a while.
Oh yeah.
He was a quarterback at Arkansas in the early aughts. He's from Arkansas. He's from Springdale, Arkansas. So if you're interested in that kind of thing. And he was on the fast track. Okay, he went through. He did some GA stuff at Arkansas and Auburn. He went through the FCS ranks. He was the offensive coordinator for Auburn from 13 to 16, and just went on and really was on that quick rise there from there. He was Gus Malzahn's offensive coordinator there at Auburn. Is that right? Yeah. And so Lashley then followed Gus Malzahn. He's of the Gus Malzahn tree. Goes over to to Arkansas State, then to Auburn with him and stuff like that. I had that reversed. Arkansas State, then to Auburn. Bounce around at UConn, and you're probably thinking, okay, Tepper, get to the point. What's the SMU tie? He was the offensive coordinator for Chad Morris. Chad Morris? No, Sonny Dykes. He was the offensive coordinator for Sonny Dykes in 2018 and 2019 before he moved on to be the offensive coordinator at Miami. So he's got ties there. 38, first ever head coaching job. Okay? But he knows the landscape after spending a little bit of time there. And he is a guy who this is a bit of a risk from SMU. TCU went with the established head coach. Okay? And actually SMU's last coach that they brought in was Sonny Dykes. And say what you want about him, he had head coaching chops. Chad Morris did not. But at the same time, it went okay. Before that, they hired June Jones. June Jones was a long time, he was successful for a long time, at the coaching level.
Well, and if their tie is to Sonny Dykes, you have to know that he was the one that probably suggested and went to bat for him when all this was happening. So that says something.
Correct. That said, let's be clear about this. Rhett Lashley is known as an offensive whiz. He is known as a guy who is very thoughtful. He's known as a guy who knows his way around an offensive playbook. We do not know what a Rhett Lashley run program looks like. We don't. There's a lot of unknowns there. Furthermore, I think that the hill gets steeper because of who Sonny Dykes is taking with him to Fort Worth. With Rashad Samples, with reportedly the offensive coordinator, some other guys like this. Now, again, that's not to say that he's a bad hire, because I think that this is one genre of hire that you can make, which is the hot assistant. Okay, this is more in line with hiring a guy like Dave Aranda at Baylor. Okay, who had never been a head coach either. Ask Baylor how that's working out.
Seems pretty good,
right? There are ways of going about that. For SMU, they're going with the younger guy who does not have those kind of chops. I also think that for a job like SMU, there's not a lot of harm in doing that for a couple of reasons. One, if you can continue the idea of being the team of Dallas, then you can help to continue to seal those borders. You have that built-in recruiting base. You can continue to do that, and maybe a young voice like Rhett Lashley and an exciting offense is going to pay dividends.
Well, and then it's one of those things, if he moves on later on and it goes well, and then he recommends someone, you've got that whole SMU tree that just keeps going at that point.
Right. Furthermore, the other thing is Rhett Lashley is a guy who I think will be able to generate a little bit of excitement there. The offense is certainly going to put some butts in seats. They're going to be exciting. And I think that especially in a with a quarterback-friendly offense like he runs, I think that you are going to see him do a good job, be able to acquire some talent in that regard. Now, this is not a slam dunk. It could blow up in their face, and I also think that for SMU, they're kind of forced into this position because the coaching carousel now spins faster and faster and faster every year. And if you're looking for a guy with head coaching experience, you're either going to go with a relative retread, or you're going to be looking at like the lower, a Conference USA coach or someone like that, or even like an FCS coach, right? Because now the coaching carousel, nobody's getting the time to be able to build up their resumes. Right. I mean, look at the coach at Missouri, to draw from personal experience. Eli Drinkwitz was the head coach at Appalachian State for a year. One. Before he was the head coach at Mizzou, an SEC program. The coaching carousel spins faster. And so as a result, if you can identify, and especially in a place like SMU, which, God love them, let's see what happened with their last two coaches. Chad Morris got poached by the SEC. Didn't work out there, but he got poached by the SEC. Sonny Dykes comes in. He gets poached by your crosstown rival in TCU. SMU has had trouble holding on to coaches because when you succeed, you look to the next level. You look to the next step. If you had gotten some sort of word from Rhett Lashley that this is where he wants to be for the long term, that would go a long way.
Yep.
Now, money talks and BS walks. Ask Lincoln Riley. Mm-hmm. But that, to me, I would be very interested in what those conversations were like with between Rhett Lashley and athletic director Rick Hart. Because I would think that Rick Hart at least got some sort of assurance that he wanted to be there. And this was not a stepping stone. This was a place he wanted to be for a relatively decent amount of time. Now, again, money talks, BS walks, et cetera, et cetera. Rhett Lashley's going to be the new head coach. He's an exciting young head coach. We don't know what his program is going to look like. But I think that he does have a foundation to build on that could set him up for success.
And the coaching carousel continues here. Ish just sent that. SMU's Kenny Perry is joining Joey McGuire at Texas Tech as an assistant head coach and special teams coordinator per sources. Great to see Perry and McGuire reuniting in Lubbock. That comes from Max Olson. So yeah,
Texas Tech's trying to build a recruiting Death Star.
I was going to say this.
They're trying to build a talent acquisition Death Star out there, and bringing a guy like Kenny Perry who knows his way around Texas and is what he and Joey McGuire are thick as thieves. That's another big move. Anyway, the coaching carousel will continue to spin. We have 2 new FBS coaches in the state of Texas. Exciting times. Let's go over to Ashley Pickle for America's second favorite segment. Final thoughts.
Something that someone brought up earlier that I felt like deserved a shout out here. They said, can Coach Peavy get some love? Not only did he take Beaumont Westbrook to the championship game, but now he has LCM, a historically bad program, on round 4. That was a big.
Yes. If you were asking, can Eric Peavy get some love from us?
Yes,
he can.
That was a thing from
Little Cypress
from the
Mauriceville has not been.
We did not go
Little
over.
Cypress Mauriceville is into the 4th round of the playoffs for the first time since 1997. And what Eric Peavy's done there is remarkable. I will tell you that the Dave Campbell's Texas football staff had some conversations this year about Coach of the Year candidates, and Eric Peavy is firmly in our crosshairs for a spot on the short list for a Coach of the Year. I think what he's done is remarkable, and I think he knows what he's doing. I think that's a ball coaching dude right there. So, yes, shout out to them, and shout out to the LCM Bears who were able to shut down El Campo's offense. And
yeah, that was impressive.
That was very impressive. So,
also, Turnpike Troubadours are back.
They are back. I heard that.
I didn't hear that until now. Yeah, I am pumped.
I saw a tweet.
Okay.
It's going to do it for us. Thanks for spending a little bit of your day with us. Follow us on Twitter at TCTF. Like us on Facebook. Facebook.com/Dave Campbell's. Follow us on Instagram. Instagram.com/Dave Campbell's. And, of course, see us at TexasFootball.com. Thanks again to China Spring head coach Brian Bell for being our guest. For Ashley Pickle, I'm Greg Tepper. Vince Young, please meet your Player of the Year trophy. We'll see you tomorrow on Texas Football Today.